Just so I'm clear, Airman Castle did not hit you?
No.
He didn't strike your leg?
He did not.
Okay. You're aware that the charge that he's facing is that he struck your leg?
I was not aware of that.
Okay. If I tell you that the charge that he's facing currently is that he knowingly struck your leg, does that surprise you?
It does.
Why?
Because he didn't hit me.
Okay. Earlier on direct, you talked a little bit about that day, and just for the judge's awareness, this day that we're talking about is 10 April, correct?
Right.
Okay. And I think you mentioned that you remember that Airman Castle was agitated. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Just make sure you're making your audible responses because it's recording. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you're. Okay. And then you're briefing him on the rules of confinement, but he's visibly upset about being there.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. But you can understand, right, like why somebody might be upset about being thrown into pretrial confinement.
I do.
Okay. Prior to Airman Castle actually coming into pretrial confinement and you guys getting started on in processing, had you been briefed about Airman Castle at all?
Briefly. It was probably like a 20-30 second breakdown that, hey, we're getting somebody has a history of aggression or non-compliance, so just mind your P's and Q's. Just keep your emotions in check and do your job to the best of your ability.
Okay, do you remember who actually briefed you on this?
That would be TSgt Norris.
And that's the NCOIC of confinement?
Correct.
Okay. Did you get any briefing about Airman Castle? Okay. Did you get any briefing about Airman Castle and the potential mental health concerns about him?
No, ma'am.
Okay. How many people have you dealt with in pretrial confinement in your time at Cannon?
In pretrial confinement,
yes.
He was the second person.
Okay. Have you encountered confinees who have significant mental health concerns?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So then Airman Castle comes in that day, and I really want to walk through this restraint chair. The restraint chair, where is it actually located?
Excuse me. To stand back up.
Okay. Do you remember if after this encounter with Airman Castle, did you have to document anything?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you remember where you would have documented that?
I can't remember the exact farm name, but yes, we have to document everything that, when it comes to the use of force, we have to document everything that goes on between us and the confinee.
Okay. Do you remember if it would have been documented in an 1168 form?
1168, I did document my interaction. Yes.
Okay, great. Your Honor, I have what I have pre-marked as Defense Exhibit Charlie. Copies have been previously provided to trial counsel. If I may approach, would Your Honor like a working copy?
Yes, please.
Trying to stand back up.
Okay. Mr. Kelly, in your 1168 that you completed just the day after the incident with Airman Castle, you don't make any mention about the injury to your knee.
No.
Okay. And that's because Airman Castle didn't actually strike your knee.
No, ma'am.
Or strike your leg.
No.
Okay. And in fact, you don't make any mention of what you testified today about having to move your body in order to avoid his leg and your knee. You don't mention that at all in your 1168?
I do not.
Okay. But fair to say that your 1168 was capturing what happened between you and your interactions with you and Airman Castle just a day after.
Correct.
Correct? And fair to say that what's in the 1168 is probably most accurate.
It is.
Okay. And you don't make any mention of what you testified today in your 1168. Mr. Kelly, so what you put in your 1168 on April 11th versus what you've testified to today here, you can agree that those are at least two different stories.
I wouldn't necessarily say they're two different stories. It's just that I did not involve the knee injury in my 1168.
Okay. Did you go seek any treatment after April 11th?
I did.
Okay. And did you have any injuries, like long-term injuries from this incident?
Long-term, yes, it still kind of bothers me.
Okay. But again, Airman Castle did not strike your leg
He
that
did
day.
not hit me, no.
Okay. You were just shifting from his legs.
My own fault, yes.
Okay. After this incident, did you remain in confinement as one of the personnel observing Airman Castle?
Yes, ma'am.
And Airman Castle remained in confinement for the next, I'll say, so what you next, I'll say 62 days at this point.
Yes.
After April 11th, was Airman Castle's behavior compliant?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Was he, would you describe him as somebody who was pleasant?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. Did you have any issues with him after April 11th?
After April 11th, the very next day, there was the cell extraction. I was not present for that, so I can't speak on that. But after that, he was easy, compliant, pleasant to work with. And the only non-compliance he had is that he did not want to take all of his medicine. But that was only because he was missing, I forget the exact name of the prescribed medication, but he didn't have it, so he didn't want to take the rest of his prescribed medicine. So
Because he believed that they should be taken in conjunction with the others.
altogether,
Okay.
yes, in conjunction. Yes.
Okay. And you all in next, I'll say, normally in confinement, if a confinee or detainee is refusing medication, that's considered, failure to obey, in a sense, correct?
Non-compliance, yes.
Non-compliance, okay. And in fact, confinees can actually get in trouble for not doing that.
I would not say that they could get in trouble, but if they're refusing their medication, we have to route that up to the medical staff.
Okay. And in this case, Airman Castle didn't have access to all of his medications, and that's why he's refusing it.
Correct.
Okay. Aside from that, though, was there any other issues with Airman Castle for the remainder of his time in confinement?
Absolutely not.
Okay. May I have a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
No further questions, thank you.
Government, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have one moment?
You may.
Thank you.
While you're doing that, defense counsel, did you get defense exhibit C?
Because that was considered a use of force.
Yes, sir. So just to clarify, Airman Castle attempted to, or let me rephrase. So you're saying in him trying to get up and out of the chair, he was flailing, it almost hit you, but it did not touch your body?
He did not hit me, no.
Okay. But you moved out of the way?
I did.
Okay. And why did you move out of the way?
I did not want to get hit in the groin.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have a moment?
You may.
Thank you.
Because that was considered a use of force. I personally did not make any calls. I believe Tech Sergeant Norris was the one who made the calls.
Do you know if mental health was called?
I do not know if they were called, but mental health did show up at some point. Well, no, they didn't, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
No, mental health did not show up. He was escorted to the clinic to speak with mental health, but they were not in. And that's when, after the second time, that's when he was escorted to the PRMC in Clovis to go speak with the mental health professional.
Okay. Were you aware that he was actually apprehended on his way to mental health for a treatment team meeting?
I found out later, yes.
But you were not informed in advance?
No, ma'am.
Would it have changed the way you handled the pre-brief if you'd known he'd been actively on his way to mental health for an appointment before you? No?
No. I personally did not make any calls. I believe Tech Sergeant Norris was the one who made the calls.
From December of 2022 to April of 2023 to not uphold the standards of the military, when he disrespected his NCO, when he failed to follow a lawful order, and when he was finally caught and arrested and brought to confinement when he assaulted a security forces member. The only appropriate verdict, Your Honor, is to find Airman Castle guilty of all charges and specifications, a verdict consistent with the law and supported by the facts. Thank you. Confinement when he assaulted a security forces member. The only appropriate verdict, Your Honor, is to find Airman Castle guilty of all charges and specifications, a verdict consistent with the law and supported by the facts. Thank you.
Senior Airman Lance C. Castle, Jr., this court finds you of all charges and specifications not guilty. Please be seated. Before